October 23rd, Mountain Washington, New Hampshire. It was truly a dark and stormy night. For me, perhaps the darkest and stormiest night of my entire life, because I came within minutes, 5 minutes of death. Unfortunately, my death. Now, as a physician and a pathologist, I had had a long, close professional relationship with death and dying, but not one with my dying, and certainly not with my death. We use death as a catalyst, as sort of a springboard to kick this thing off and to try to get your attention. But the goal here is to really focus on life, all our lives, and the things that we can get out of life. Knowing full well that death is the price that we're all going to pay for that most wonderful gift of all, the gift of life itself. So anyway, so I continue on. This is marvelous. There's a kid that's happy as can be. I'm out there in the snow. However, the next thing that happens, I get up on the forehead of the lion, and the wind comes in over the Tuckerman's Ravine. Wow. It was bad, but it was also kind of neat. And so I had to make this adult decision. I decided to continue going for 2 reasons. And you have to figure out whether this makes any sense or not. Number one, I have a knee prosthesis, and it's easier to ascend than descend. That's it. There's no better argument than that. Now, the second argument is interesting, strategic planning. I spent a long time in my professional career with physicians and then with other businesses and made a very, very good income, strategic planning for people who never finish their strategic plan. And I am a person that finishes his strategic plan. So I decided that I was going to do this. I was going to continue on with my plan. The plan that I had gotten back here at the hermit hut. The plan that said, okay, go up this trail, but go across this road here, and then you're going to pick up the auto road and you're going home. Now, during that long afternoon, evening, and night, as I lay waiting for rescue in hurricane-force winds and complete whiteout conditions, and then I must admit that eventually I pretty much gave up any hope of rescue, I had abundant time to think about living and to think about dying. It was Boswell who wrote that the threat of hanging tends to focus the mind. So there were, however, I must admit, 3 controversies associated with my mountaineering. Number one, I had used a cell phone. Argument was, instead of good judgment, instead of good safety gear with me. Number 2, that I had hiked solo. I went alone on the mountain. And number 3, that I continued to press on when I should have gone back and I should have turned around. So there I sat in this wind and this horrendous snow and Rhine ice and all this kind of stuff, simply waiting for death. And I said, this is a peaceful way to go. It won't be that bad. And I thought about a variety of things came to mind, not only the guilt about my wife, but also the embarrassment. I could see my friends in the Appalachian Mountain Club down at the lodge. The lodge has this, I call it the wall of death. The 112 people have died in Mount Washington. And I can see them putting up a little sign, Bernie Dahl, nitwit. A certain peace did come over me. In fact, recently I gave a program to young people that were training to be mountain rescuers, and it was not one of the students, but one of the parents that asked me a question I don't know how to answer. And she said, if you were so peaceful up there, are you mad that they came and rescued you? Good question. I was at peace. It was a weird kind of peace. It might be a hypothermic peace, who knows? But anyway, so I'm sitting there waiting, and an honest Indian was waiting for the white night, the white light. That's one of the things you hear about, the white light. And you're going to see neat things as you go to heaven or wherever you go. However, about midnight, a white light did come, but it was held by 6 guys, led by Mike Pelcher. Mike Pelcher is one of these super people in your life. I think I owe my life to him because you have to do things for him forever. And this guy is special. Remember when New Hampshire, when the old man on the mountain fell down? He's the guy who reported on it. He's some hot shot in the Mount Washington thing. Anyway, Mike Pelcher said that when I don't want to get sued here, when Smokey the Bear went home, Mike and his people stayed the course. Mike kept telling his people that in spite of the bad weather, there's a guy up there dying, and somewhere along the way he made the statement, let's give him 5 more minutes. These people were marvelous, absolutely marvelous. I couldn't move, I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything. They finally put me on a toboggan about 2 hours later, and well past midnight. Took me down to a snowcat. I could not stand, I couldn't do anything, and put me on a snowcat, took me down, took me to a waiting ambulance, which was kind of neat. I'd never been in an ambulance, and as a patient, and took me off to the hospital 30 minutes later. Now I'm going to talk about a book that I've just written. It's gone off to the press, and it looks like this. That's the galley proof. But I'm not here to sell the book, because if you're really bright, you can follow these questions I have here and do excellent personal strategic planning. What's the power of strategic planning? Where does it get its power from? It gets it from questions. There's some classic things. The rabbinical student asked the rabbi, Rabbi, why do you always answer a question with a question? And what's the answer? Is there any other way? That's right. Kung Fu says, I no longer seek all the answers, but to
merely understand the question is better.
Right. And then there's Fox Mulder, ancient Fox Mulder, who said, ask an impertinent question, get a pertinent answer. That's amazing. What a good crowd. This is great. There are some strategic planning programs that have 21 steps. There are some that have 1 step. And about 15 years ago in my life, I decided, and all the things I would do, I would come up with my own plan. I came up with 6 of these things. Anyway, who are you is the first question we're going to ask. We're going to ask only 8 questions. We go real fast through these things. Know yourself, the Oracle of Delphi. Anyway, number 2, we're moving along so smartly here. What are you doing now? Now, we chose to take the Greek approach there, look at body, mind, and soul, and then we looked at distinct competencies. Everybody in this room has competencies. In fact, you make a list of these, and we have 41 different pages that you could fill in things. What are your current activities? What are you doing? What are your resource and allocation? You take those last 2 lines of the current activities and the resource and allocation, you realize that there's an acronym we use, TEAM, T-E-E-M, time, energy, emotions, and money, and what the money buys. Probably the most important single resource that you have is time. And with all this information, you can generate what's called the mission statement. The mission statement addresses where you are now, your present thing, and it really can be easily done. Question number 3, what do you want to have, do, be in the future? That's the visioning process. Again, something you have to do all alone. What would you, of all the world that's out there, what do you want to have, what do you want to do, and what do you want to be? And then question number 4, what is your SWOT analysis? You'll see on some of the slides that we used to use SWOT analysis. That's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We decided to take weaknesses and turn it into something positive and call them challenges instead. And then question number 5, what are your goals? Now, all of a sudden, we've got all this data, we know what to do with it, we vision everything, then we're going to pull it together in what's called goals, and we want to have them in concert with our mission statement, our vision statement, our SWOT analysis, and we want to select them and prioritize it. Number 6, how do you complete your goals? This is the implementation process. You have to be a change agent, you have to manage risk, you have to make wise choices, you have to celebrate your efforts. Don't celebrate your success, celebrate your efforts and really rejoice in your successes. And maybe we developed a little interest enough that you might go on to do the ultimate strategic planning, which is the journey into the self. And that's something you have to do alone. It's exciting, it's mysterious, it addresses challenges and opportunities, joys and sorrows and risks and rewards of life. It's an interesting thing. It takes some energy, it takes some effort, and it takes some risk. And what is risk? It's been said that given this marvelous gift of life, the greatest risk of all is to take no risk at all. So lesson number 1 is be prepared to die. Number 2 is to have a plan to live. Number 3, do it now. You never know when number 1 is going to kick in. As the sun sets on the Mount Washington, I'd like to end with a poem from Apollinaire. Come to the edge of the cliff, he said. No, we're afraid. Come to the edge of the cliff, he said. No, we're afraid. Come to the edge of the cliff. They came. He pushed them. They flew. You're all eagles. Keep flying. And if you're really courageous, come fly with me. Thank you. Good audience.